10 traits startups need to get funded. The competition for startup funding is fierce. Consider that a venture capitalist or angel investor will invest in one startup for every 100 face-to-face meetings they take. The decision of whether to invest is mostly driven by how investors feel about you, the CEO. Simply put, if investors believe in you, they'll invest. I'll share with you, based on my experience, the 10 traits you'll need to get your startup funded, why each trait is important, and what you should do if you don't have a given trait. I hope you like it. Hi, I'm Brett. On my channel, I help early stage startup CEOs like you raise money and grow your startup. So if this sounds like you, then hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get notified every time I release a new video. Let's get started. And let's start with the first thing on our list. Number 1, you are really good at what you do. One of the most eye-opening things for me when I was an entrepreneur in residence at a San Francisco-based VC firm is that various investment opportunities are competing with investments outside their space. Said another way, your fintech idea might be competing for funding with another opportunity in artificial intelligence. That's why only the best of the best get funded. And that applies to CEOs too. You are being judged and evaluated all through the investment process. You have to be not just really good, but excellent at what you do. Now let's move on to number 2 on our list. Number 2, you are easy to work with. One of the things that experienced investors are thinking about is this: how is it going to be to work with this person for the next 7 to 10 years? In other words, are you going to be a jerk? Are you going to be defensive? Or are you going to be easy to work with? Now, when I say easy to work with, I don't mean you are a pushover. I do mean that you are tough and strong, and you are running the company, not the investors. You are transparent. You don't hide things from your investors. And your goal is to be the one investment in their portfolio that they don't have to worry about. Speaking about making life easy for your investors, let's move on to number 3 on our list. Number 3, you have reasonable expectations about the equity split. Life is too short to deal with CEOs that don't understand that investors need to make money too. Let's start with a negative example. You're raising $5 million in this round of funding, and you believe that you only need to give up 5% to investors. That's very unlikely to happen because that's too small an ownership percentage for an investor. And if you're stubborn about it, then investors are just going to move on to the next deal. A bigger red flag is that the equity split between you and your co-founders is 90% for you and 10% for your co-founders. Investors are going to immediately recognize that your co-founders are not going to be very motivated, and they're probably not going to be very good. The point is, the equity split needs to be perceived as fair, or you will be not likely to get an investment. Next, let's move on to number 4 on our list. Number 4, you have reasonable expectations about the result. By result, I mean the eventual liquidation event for your startup. There are several ways you can get in trouble here. For example, let's say your goal is to sell your company at a $100 million valuation when you're raising $10 million in funding. And let's say the investors get 20% ownership for their $10 million. That means the post-money valuation on this round of funding is $50 million. That's a 2x return for investors if you sell the company for $100 million. So what's the problem, you're asking? The problem is that investors are looking for a return of 10x or greater. In this case, that means a liquidation event of $500 million or more. The point is your expectations need to be in alignment with your investors. Early stage angels are looking for a 30x return on their money. Early stage VCs are looking for a 10x to 30x return, depending upon when they invest. This leads to the next issue, number 5 on our list. Number 5, you realize that your investors need to have a liquidity event, and that might mean you have to sell your company. If you're not comfortable with the idea that you might have to sell your company, then don't raise outside funding. Bootstrap your startup. You'll be much better off. Look, you are the CEO. You will have a tremendous say in the result of your company. Your investors will listen to your wishes as long as they are reasonable. However, you have to be reasonable. Investors need to make money too. And that likely means you're going to have to sell your company at some point, and you have to be okay with that. Next on our list is number 6. Number 6, you have to be prepared. Let's go back to the 100-to-1 example I started the video with. My thought process when I was raising money was, we likely needed to meet with 100 investors to raise our funding because of the 100-to-1 ratio. You don't know whether it will be the first investor you meet with or the 100th investor you meet with that will fund your startup. So you want to be rehearsed and ready before you meet with the first investor on your list. For more on how to be prepared, watch this video. Speaking of rehearsing, let's move on to number 7 on our list. Number 7, you are a good communicator. You need to be clear and to the point when you raise money. For example, when an investor asks you what your monthly revenue is, don't spin a story that takes 10 minutes and still doesn't give a clear answer. Instead, just say our monthly revenue is $500,000. Get right at it. This is where rehearsing comes in. I can almost guarantee you that you will not be crisp and to the point if you don't rehearse. Rehearsing is how you get good as a presenter. I've said it before and I'll say it again now. Steve Jobs, perhaps the best tech presenter ever, would rehearse a 1-hour presentation 100 times. Hopefully, I've made my point. Let's move on to number 8 on our list. Number 8, you are passionate, no, make that fanatical about what your company does. Fanaticism is a key component of success for you and your team. Fanaticism is what will help you through the tough times that are ahead. And trust me, there will be tough times just to get funded. Investors are also looking for signs that you are fanatical too. Now, fanaticism doesn't mean that you have to be loud or something that you're not. It does mean that you show your belief in what you're doing in a way that is true for you. Next, we move on to number 9 on our list. Number 9. You have demonstrated that you can attract other great people to join you on your journey. As startup CEOs, we have 2 jobs: recruit, 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 and sell, sell, sell. Part of the bet that investors are making is that you will be able to recruit a world-class team. So how do they see this? If you're just starting out, it's going to be the co-founders on your team. Are they great or are they mediocre? If you're further along, it will be the quality of the executive team and the team around you. Finally, And most importantly, we move on to number 10 on our list. Number 10, you have integrity. Integrity means investors can trust you. The second that investors feel they cannot trust you, they're not going to invest. You have to be above reproach. One way you can demonstrate your integrity is by getting ahead of any problems or issues. Let me give you a personal example of this. I had an issue that I was perceived as being difficult to work with. At first, I ignored the issue. However, here's what I didn't realize. Investors will find out just about everything about you and your startup, and they found that issue. Right or wrong, we lost a couple of potential investors because I was perceived as not being forthright. I quickly learned my lesson, and I told investors about the issue before they found it themselves. That's how you build trust. So don't be afraid to discuss potential problems with investors. Look at it as a chance to build your relationship with investors. Now, if this content is resonating with you, then please hit the like button right now. Now, I have one final thought for you today. Just be yourself. It's okay to be an introvert if you're an introvert. It's okay to be an extrovert if you're an extrovert. And it's okay if investors pass because they only want to work with something that you're not. That's okay because building a startup is likely a 7 to 10-year journey. You want to be aligned with your investors. Just be the best version of you, and you'll give yourself the best chance of raising money. Now, what did you learn from today's video? Put your answer in the comments column below today's video. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments column too, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Now, I have one more thing for you today. It's my free startup pitch deck template. It has all the slides you need to develop an awesome pitch deck. Now click the link below today's video and it's yours for free. And for more great content, click on the video at the end of today's video. And if you haven't already, then click the subscribe button to get notified every time I release a new video. I'm Brett at brettjfox.com. Thanks for watching today. Take care. Bye.